Today I'm bringing you guys another Anthem build, this time taking a look at my electric acid test Colussus. Now this is a close quarters focused primer build where we utilize our melee as our main detonator. So we're going to be priming with both of our abilities. We're also going to be priming with Sentinel's Vengeance, which is a grenade launcher that primes targets with acid damage. This is a really fun build, and you guys know I'm big on the fun factor for my builds. If you like smashing stuff with your fist with the Colussus, this is going to let you do an insane amount of damage and really crank out those massive group combos while also having some pretty good crowd control, as well as a lot of power to tear down enemy resistances via the acid damage on Sentinel's Vengeance, as well as Solvent Green, which is the acid launcher that we're running on this build. Now for a bit of cosmetic flair, I decided I'd equip this particular javelin with its own hazmat suit, hence the lime green color scheme. I actually really like the way it works out. We look like we're covered in acid while we're also throwing acid. So why don't we go ahead and start by taking a look at our weapon selection here. I am running Artinia's Gambit just because it's like the only good light machine gun I have, but honestly most of the time with this build I'm going to be running my Sentinel's Vengeance. So this is our legendary grenade launcher. If you got the Masterwork variant, it'll work just as well. It is the 3-round burst sticky grenade launcher, and in this case it's going to detonate an area acid effect on a small hit streak. So when we get off multiple shots, we're going to have just AoE acid. It's going to drip over targets. This is great for coating multiple targets in acid, but with the Colussus you really only got to coat one, so it's slightly redundant, but at least you're going to be getting resistance teardowns. So it's redundant in the sense of you don't need to coat everything in acid to detonate a combo with the Colussus because you got that AoE explosion, but getting more enemies in acid means that their resistances are going to be lowered overall. So when you do pop a combo, you're going to get a lot more damage out of this. A really, really good weapon for this build, and we now essentially have 3 ways in which we can prime targets with this build. So speaking of our second way in this case, for our heavy assault launcher, we are running Solvent Green. This is the Masterwork version of Venom Spitter. You could run basic Venom Spitter here. This obviously does an insane amount for our combo damage. We've got 200% more for combos when this thing is equipped. You don't even have to use this. As long as it's equipped, you're going to be cranking out combo damage. This makes this thing an absolute monster when it comes to dealing out that beautiful, beautiful combo goodness. Moving on to our ordnance launcher, we are running Voltaic Dome. So this is the manual shot coil, meaning you have to actually hold the button down and walk around. The great thing about the Masterwork variant of this shot coil is that enemies are going to be frozen once they're hit with the shockwaves. So this is your massive crowd control tool for this build. When you're on the thick of it and you've got like 6 brutes pushing you in that world event, you just pop this thing out, freeze them in place, drop a combo. You could freeze them again if you want, or you can go to the acid. I like to shoot things with acid from a distance as they're pushing in on me, kind of start to wear down the resistances, maybe get off an early combo, and then as they start to attack me, go into CC mode, get that crowd control with my Voltaic Dome, combo again for the finisher. It's a really great rinse and repeat process. If you're fighting something really big like an Ursix and soloing it, you're going to have to be a little bit more agile, but this is a great tool to at least stagger the Ursix. In Masterwork 2, you're not going to freeze an Ursix entirely with this thing, but you will at least stagger it momentarily, get it off your back, and then you can kind of reposition, maybe switch over to your Vengeance again, and start laying in with the grenades. When we take a look at our components list, there's honestly nothing really specific going on here. In fact, a lot of this stuff could be better than it is. This is a very flexible part of this build. I would recommend something like a Vanguard emblem that's going to increase electrical damage. This one also does fire, but at least we've got the electrical boost for the Voltaic there. We're also running like ammo capacity for our grenade launcher. If you have something that boosts the magazine capacity of the grenade launcher, that's going to be really beneficial. Unfortunately, I don't have anything that does a big boost. We're running reinforced hull, but that's just because we're trying to get our Masterwork score up again. So a lot of this stuff is like whatever. I think for this build long term, if I really had a nice pool of Masterworks, I would be focused heavily on defense and damage output via combos. So we'd see a lot of combo boosters here. We'd also see a lot of just overall tankiness because you're in the thick of it. I want a little bit more room for error. So if I don't get like my crowd control off quickly, or if I'm fighting something big that doesn't get CC'd as easily by the Voltaic Dome, I want something where I'm going to be able to survive a little bit more. Right now in GM2, this is like a risky build solo, especially when we're talking strongholds. You have to be able to play very, very safely. And we could still use a bit more damage in terms of our combo for stuff like Strongholds in GM2 for this current gear score. So again, just kind of start to fill in what works for you. You can really tweak the build here. If you want to go full-on glass cannon, you could just do all like damage boosters, make yourself, you know, way high damage output, boost your acid, boost your electrical damage, boost your combo damage, boost your grenade launcher damage, and not really worry too much about your HP. That's just personally what I would like to see with this build in the long run. Support gear, we are running Shield Pulse. Again, survivability is key here, so this is going to reduce incoming damage by 33%. Can't wait to get some masterwork abilities in there so we can maybe mix that up just a little bit more. But that is it, ladies and gentlemen, the Electric Acid Test Colossus build. I've seen quite a few of you guys talking about running Electric Acid builds. I think they're a lot of fun, and if you do have something like Sentinel's Vengeance where you're going to get that additional primer, this is just like a ridiculously fun build. Like, I've had big just grin moments with this thing. I can't recommend it enough. And I think if you're looking to build towards a initial Colossus build, you're just making your way into endgame perhaps, and you stumble across some of these masterwork variants, this is a great route to go if you're someone who likes to melee. I think the melee with the Colossus is unbelievably satisfying, and I really cannot recommend that you spend time punching things with the Colossus enough. This build lets you do all of that, and it's also a very... It's not very, but it's a slightly intensive build in terms of coordination. Like, you have to be paying attention, especially on the harder difficulties, to what you're doing and how you're doing it. And you can really start to maximize your damage output by tearing down those enemy resistances consistently with acid. It's going to help your team a lot, too. So if you're running in co-op or in a squad and you're constantly covering things in acid, they're going to get more combo damage out of their combos. And in general, it's going to help your whole team just tear through the enemy much, much quicker. Definitely recommend this as like a support damage build for people running Strongholds in GM1 and in GM2. That's going to do it for me today, guys. The next build we're going to be looking at is actually going to be a Ranger-oriented build that is going to be making use of Artinia's Gambit. So I'm building a Ranger build around Artinia's Gambit. Pretty stoked about it. Also hopeful that within the next month, maybe the next few weeks, we're going to hear some news from BioWare on how they're going to be overhauling the loot system in the game, so we can maybe get some more masterwork so I can start to make more glorious builds. I'm also going to be diving into the Division 2 in the coming weeks and doing builds for that game, so keep an eye out for those. Again, thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for supporting everything I do here on the channel, and I will see you in the next one.